One of the things I've made a point of doing, and I think most people should, is try and be an expert at what you do.
Yes.
And try not to be across too many things. So I've been asked now over the years, and I get asked probably at least once or twice a month, would I sell a house? And the answer is no, I wouldn't, because that's not what I do.
Yes.
And I think if you try and be everything to everyone, not necessarily then the best at the one thing, if that makes sense. So.
This is the Build Out West podcast with your host Tony Hyde from Evolution House and Land Specialists and Catherine Smith from Build Bright Builder Brokers.
If you guys are looking to build in WA or simply curious to see what's going on in building, you guys are in the right place. We're here to give insight with professionals in the game, coming to give the inside scoop. Episodes are uploaded weekly, so don't worry, we don't skip a beat and you won't either. Like, share, subscribe, sit back, relax, and let's go.
Hello and welcome to the Build Out West podcast with your host Tony Hyde.
And Catherine Smith. Good morning.
Good morning, morning.
No, technically lunchtime.
Just on afternoon.
Good afternoon.
As always, we love to bring you quality guests, and if you're in the industry,
and handsome.
Oh, there we go.
Watch out.
Sorry, I'm going to step out.
We're not editing that out. That's
If you're in the industry, you'll know our guest, and if you don't know, you've not been in the industry long enough to know what's going on. Damyn STRANG from ABEL Land
Are you having a crack at my age there, mate?
No, you're just that important in the industry that
everyone knows Damyn, that's for sure. Yeah.
Thank you for having me, guys. I'm actually excited to be here. But yeah, thanks for having me.
Do you know what?
Should be a good chat.
We had all the guests been great, but I think you were the most excited on the emails. And I was like, look how excited he's on the emails. So I was like, yeah, let's get it. Damyn's going to come on. You could feel the energy for it, so it was fantastic.
Well, I actually like being on something like this that is a bit more at the coal face, so to speak.
Yeah.
Rather than dealing at the high level where you're not really getting to the guts of what's going on in the industry. So something like this probably suits my personality, but actually hopefully gives your listeners a real understanding of what's happening at the coalface as opposed to what you maybe read in the media or, that's got a layer of sort of censoring across it, if that makes sense.
100%.
Well, it's just a bit more corporate, right?
Yeah.
So this is a little bit more conversational, and I think it's good for people who are in the building industry to obviously have a good chat with you, or people that are looking at land as well. So
I mean, it's definitely a big one of ours, and we said in episode 1 was about the education around it, the negative press around the building industry and all that. Like we went through a really hard time, but we're now at the point where most builders are on top of it and we're getting busy again, but I don't feel like we'll go down that path again.
Yeah.
I feel like we've got it. There's going to be hiccups. There's going to be things that aren't going to work. We get that. There's going to be high demand, but we're never going to be to the point where we were. I feel the decent builders that we're working with and land agents and stuff have learned the lesson, and we're now pushing in the right direction.
2024, I think, is going to be busy for anyone looking in the building industry.
Like this.
I know.
Correct.
Yes. It has been for a while, to be fair. But yeah, let's start with the basics.
Okay.
Who you are, what you do. Introduce yourself.
Damyn STRANG, as you've introduced me, I'm an owner of a business called ABEL Property, but day to day I run the land sales division. So we solely focus on selling and marketing land estates for those developers that don't have an internal sales team. So I've been doing this, this will show my age. I think we're coming up to 20 years next year. So it's been a long time.
So you're like 27, somewhere there.
Yeah, around that. So I started when I was 7. 47, I'm happy to tell people my age because it doesn't bother me. I started over east with Stockland back in 2004.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I was with them for 8 or 9 years, maybe a little longer. And then I jumped over to a build of 3.5 years. And then I've had my own business now, I reckon we're about 9-10 years since I started this business, which focuses on the land sales. Yeah.
Is it the developments? Do you do like just mum and dad plots of land and stuff like that? Do you have that stuff thrown at you as well?
Oh, look, we try and focus on developments that are at least 10 to 15 lots plus.
Yeah.
It's going off and getting one lot here or there is not our business model. Mm. Do I do them from time to time for friends of friends? Yes, I do, because I like to think I'm a good bloke. But generally, we try and focus. If I can get 20 plus then our largest estate is 5,000, but 20 plus is probably where we prefer to be.
Yep. I mean, there is such a huge shift in knowledge with working with someone who is an actual land agent to a real estate agent selling a block of land in, say, Duncraig or whatever, a one-off, because obviously coming from the build side, their knowledge on land, because they're more in the established market, they treat it like an established purchase.
Correct.
Where obviously we're talking about, titles and build contracts and things need extensions and, all the complexity of that. Working with someone like yourself gives me a lot of peace of mind or confidence, because obviously I know that you know how it works because you've done it so many times, where that random LJ Hooker rep that's selling a block of land in Balga doesn't understand the need for longer time frames, for building contracts and whatever, and all the, just the sewer easements and what have you that they may not be totally in knowledge of, right?
And I think that's a really valid point. And look, as I said, I'm an owner of ABEL Property and we've got 15, 16 established agents.
Yeah.
I think one of the things I've made a point of doing, and I think most people should, is try and be an expert at what you do and try not to be across too many things. So I've been asked now over the years, and I get asked probably at least once or twice a month, would I sell a house? Mm-hmm. And the answer is no, I wouldn't, because that's not what I do.
Yes.
I want to do new home and land.
It's a different kettle of fish, right?
Totally different kettle of fish, totally different skill set, totally different stakeholders. And I think if you try and be everything to everyone, you're not necessarily then the best at the one thing, if that makes sense. So
it's definitely... Right. I agree with you, and it's not. We're not having a go at real estate agents. It's just they don't know. They just want to sell the land and get their commission. Quite rightly so. So when you talk to some of them, they're like, "Oh no, I need 60 days. Why? Because there needs to be a construction loan, or the client's not going to buy it because of they need to pay this and all the different kind of LMIs." And having that understanding when you get the right real estate agents to get that's like a joy. They go, "You need the 60 days. The client's away." You're like, "Yeah." Then you can try and push the build contract through, but it's. They don't know, it can be challenging.
Can be challenging. And look, the other thing I like to think we're a bit different as well is having been at Stockland for so long and then having sat at a major builder for 3.5 years.
Yes.
Even in our industry where, yes, the two parts of the puzzle are builders and developers, and you'd think they understand each other intimately, the number of people across this industry on both sides who I actually don't think really understand what the other does and how they do it. But because I've had that experience on both sides, it really actually gave me a huge insight to understand the build side, because, a lot of people think, 4 walls and a roof, you're done.
Yeah.
Which we know is not the case. Yeah. On the flip side, I've had builder reps in the past say to me, well, you chop down a few trees, you mark out the land and you're done as well, which is totally not the truth either. So I think we're very good that we've got experience on both sides and therefore have empathy and understand what happens or what the customer's going to go through, both with the land developer and then both with the builder as well.
Yeah, you can see both sides.
Yes, exactly right.
I mean, pulling the trigger on a deal, right, you've got to be trustworthy of three or four different components, and those 3 or 4 different components are all individual entities wanting it, and it's like, why are we not buying the land? Because we need to make sure we can get a house that works. We need to hold it. And you get a lot of real estate agents that just don't understand that.
Yeah. Yes. I think also probably the difference with land developments is yours is more of a business-to-business model where you're essentially working mostly with builders, right? Because they obviously feed you the clients to sell the land. So how do you find dealing with all those accounts and relationships with your builders?
Look, Catherine, it's probably got to a point where it's what I do.
Yeah.
Look, I enjoy it. At times, yes, it can be, particularly over the last few months with the volume that's been coming through the market, it can be challenging. I suppose I just look at it as what I do now, so it's not something I think too much about. I've developed a lot of relationships that my team has over a long period of time, so it's if everyone's trying to do the right thing, I mean, ultimately for me, the customer's got to be at the heart of it.
Yes.
If the builder's doing the right thing by the customer, we're doing the right thing by the customer, the broker's doing the right thing by the customer, then that's a good outcome for me.
Yes.
When those things don't happen, that's when it becomes challenging. And to last this long in this industry and be, I'd like to think, fairly successful, you've got to maintain your integrity.
Yes.
So as soon as I don't think anyone's doing the right thing by the customer, that's when it becomes more of a challenge.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't have to be a challenge because everyone should be putting the customer at the heart of what they do.
Yeah.
In my opinion,
Yeah.
I think that's absolutely gospel. I don't think there's any other way to do it. I've got my thoughts on it. I'm not going to talk about it. I've had my rant for the day. I'm only one rant a day, right? So.
Look on the flip side, and you're rightly so, a lot of our customers come direct from builder relationships. It's actually quite fun having started out as long ago as I did. I mean, I started out when people would come to sales office, they'd actually have a physical model of the development. You'd spend an hour with them doing a presentation. You'd then take them on site and show them various lots. There's a part of me that still misses that engagement.
Yeah. So I was actually telling Tony that when we first built in Success a few years ago, we had like the butcher's ticket, and you'd be like, we'll camp out on the block. Do you remember those days?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you would have been around for that. Yeah. We'll camp out on the block and have a butcher's ticket. We'll say we're 15th in line to buy our block. And, it wasn't done all online now with everyone's got builder portals and price lists updated daily. And
Stocky's done it in Wakeman Edge Park.
Just
a couple of years ago, and it was, you got a lottery ticket, and it was if your number was pulled because of the blocks that they had. And I was
demand.
I was like, I've got a client for this block right now. Like, nah, you guys got the lottery. And I was like, we're waiting the lottery. Didn't get it. And I'm like.
And I'm glad those days are over, because I don't know if it was. It's hard when you're in a market like that, and I've been in markets like that, both east and west.
Yeah.
It's hard to make sure the process is done as fairly as possible and making sure no one misses out, because there comes a point where demand's greater than supply. But I think the days of campouts, from a health and safety point of view, are long gone, thankfully. As much fun as it probably was back in the day. Yeah. So in terms of customers coming direct, as I said, from time to time, that is nice to deal with.
Yeah.
Because it reminds me of the good old days, so to speak.
Yeah.
One thing I think that's at the heart of our industry, which won't change, even though now we've got DocuSign, yes, people are doing a lot of research online, I still think you need the face-to-face contact, whether that be the likes of myself with builders, the likes of builder with customers, or customers with me.
Yeah.
I think that's critical. We're not purchasing a Mars bar, a can of Coke, and an iPhone. This is a massive decision for a lot of people, and I still think face-to-face contact will remain as part of our industry as long as I'm in it.
I certainly still do it. At least I will meet with my clients, and then we'll work out what's the best form of communication with them. I mean, I've got WhatsApp groups with them. I've got people that want to catch up every time. Whatever the client kind of wants, I'm happy to make sure that they're comfortable to go through. That's the way I'm, probably similar to you. But it's definitely a sit down before we do any signing or anything, is let's go through and make sure that, one, you want to work with me, and two, that I want to work with you.
Yeah.
Because there is clients out there that we just don't match up. You're like, no, this is not going to be a relationship that we're going to work. And I'm like, Catherine, maybe you're the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I will try and match it. I will try and match with every client, but sometimes you just don't get it right. You don't like everyone you meet in the pub, right? So
exactly right. And look, and our best relationships are probably over the years. People I've met face to face, spent time with face to face. It's not meaning I can't have good relationships with other people, but for me, that's just how you get to know someone. Now, I know my 14-year-old and 16-year-old kids will probably argue that you can get to know someone online, and I'm sure you can, but I just think when it comes to what we're doing, such a big decision, there's more trust if you have eyeballed someone, you know how they operate.
I think particularly the last couple of years, especially on the land side, you would go to a development, it's not even developed. They're like, it's titled September. It's somewhere there in the trees, like you're looking at the master plan, and it's very hard to convince someone to commit to such a risk in their eyes when they can't actually physically go on the ground and see it and things like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. I feel like those days are a little bit behind us now. Things are a little bit easier. What are your thoughts?
Oh, I think we're looking at now most estates, not just the ones we look after across the board, where titles are probably 3, 4, 5 months.
Yeah.
So it is going to be harder for customers.
Mm-hmm.
You have to educate them as much as we can, and the builders do a lot of this, the builder reps, particularly the good ones, educate as much as they can that the lot's going to be sort of over there.
Yeah.
And look, I know that's hard for customers, but as long as you've got the master plan, you've got all the information required.
Yes.
Look, there's always going to be customers who want to stand on the block. That's fine.
Yeah.
The only risk they run in this market, rightly or wrongly, is missing out.
Yeah.
But I think most developers can get you close enough to where it's going to be that's a very educated you can still make a very educated decision on your lot.
Correct.
And drive them around the estate if it's part of it established, and it will show you what it's kind of going to look like, because the estates keep them very uniformed, and so the roadways will be the same, the fencing will be the same, so you get an idea of what's going in there, right? So,
yeah. What land developments are you guys